Coach, it's 3 pretty good halves of offensive basketball. Do you think your guys are figuring some things out? What do you describe that to?
I like to think so. I like to think that they are starting to understand what goes into winning. We certainly know what goes into losing, and so I do think that defensively, we're more pleased with what we've done for 3 straight halves defensively, probably as much as anything. And we did I think this is the lowest amount of turnovers we've had all year, I think. And they changed defenses early like we thought they would from their 1-3-1, which you get it below the foul line, it's going to morph into a 2-3. I thought our guys recognized that okay and really made a conscious effort of putting it inside. But defensively was where we got it going again, and it's something that I just hope we can continue to build on.
Is that the John Fulkerson that you have to try to explain to John Fulkerson that he can be?
Yeah, and you know what, Grant? I think a lot of it has to do with playing less minutes. I think that Olivier, we thought as a staff walking off the court that he had played his best game overall, doing what we need him to do, and told him that he just can't go backwards now because he's made some of those strides and then backed up. But Urosh and those minutes that those 2 guys can give, puts Fulky down around 25, 27 minutes where he probably plays his best basketball. And I think he likes that better because I think it helps him. And so hopefully those guys can keep getting better and we can keep his minutes down to about that point.
Run quite a bit of that full court 1-2-2 the past 2 games. How long have y'all been working on that? What have you liked from what you've gotten out of this set?
Well, to be honest with you, that's always been part of our plan. I've never a year not had it. I learned that press from Joe Gallagher at St. John's High School as an assistant coach back in the early 80s, and it's always been a part. It's just depending on how much we want to use it and what we need to do with it. But we feel like with this group that it would help us, and hopefully just to get some time off the clock, make people have to not have quite as much time to work with, and we're longer. We can spread out up there, and which we like that. And but we still have to get better with it. To be quite honest with you, there's some holes still in it that we've got to plug.
Just in general, with your defense, what do you like about what y'all been doing defensively these last couple of games?
Well, I think the biggest thing is not as many breakdowns. That's been the biggest thing where we do a lot of switching and sometimes we're playing when they're post men, one guy we might be switching on, the other guy we might be going with a different ball coverage there, and they're picking that up better, they're echoing better, they're communicating better, they're talking better, and so I think that's all happening. But we're getting more carryover from practice in terms of that communication, and we're trying to really work hard at not getting too spread out where we are getting beat so much off the dribble, and obviously trying to keep ourselves in pretty good rebound position.
Rick, I think this is probably the most extended, I guess, games in a row that in his career that Jalen Johnson's been out there. And has that helped him get in the flow a little bit? He looks like he's a little more comfortable out there.
Well, one, he's earned it. What he's done, as much as anything, he has really worked hard on his defense. He's really trying, and what I loved about him, he did the best job of anybody we've had in a long time in Vanderbilt talking. He's out there talking, helping guys. And I think what he's done, he's starting to understand the game better in terms of understanding he doesn't have to make threes to stay in the game. He's a good teammate. He's wanting to help these guys, and he's working at it. There's no doubt. I mean, he's working harder in a lot of different areas, but you're starting to see a lot of what he's doing in practice carry over. And what happens is he's no different than the other player. You got to earn trust from the coaching staff, and he's doing that because he's doing exactly what we need him to do.
6 assists and no turnovers from Josiah tonight. How much more comfortable do you think he's getting with the ball in his hands?
I think he is. He still has times where he threw a tough pass tonight. I can't remember. I think it was Fulky or Urosh, one of them caught it. That's where he's got to continue to get better, but he wants to, and he's starting to understand what he's looking for. He's starting to understand space on the court, understanding where the ball needs to get, what his job to do, and he and Santi, they get a lot of pressure. They work, and tonight our big guy should have done a little bit better job when they were being pressured away from the basket, setting some step-up screens and letting them get out in the open court there. But I think I do. You would expect him. It's January. You would expect him to start having a grasp of what we're doing.
You've said a couple times in the last few days about Olivier doing the things that you want to see him do. What are those things he's kind of figuring out at last?
What he's good at. You know, he's a really good offensive rebounder. When we recruited him, that's what we thought we were going to get, just a rebounder in general. He's got to learn to play through contact. That's something he's going to have to learn to do. He's going to have to learn to play quicker. He's got to be more decisive. He's got to understand where he is on the court and realize if he gets this right space where he needs to be, he doesn't need to mess with it, just get into his shot. He's got great hands, and he can shoot the ball. He's starting to slow down a little bit for him, but he still has to become more physical. But rebounding-wise, we think he can hold his own with anybody. And we just told him if he would do what we asked him to do, he would figure it out. And he's been doing it more consistently in practice, and tonight he carried it over to the game.
Can you go down some of your favorite memories at Allen Fieldhouse?
Well, there are a couple. We won in there one year. That was a big one, but if you ask me the greatest college basketball performance I've ever witnessed in my life was Kevin Durant, first half of the game. It was one of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen. If we scored 35 points, he was responsible for every one of them some way, somehow. And right at the beginning of I think it was at the end of the half, he turned his ankle, and when he left the floor, they gave him a standing O. And I remember he turned his ankle right in front of me. That was at the start of the second half. And I'm like, he's not going to play for 2 weeks. I mean, he rolled it right in front of us. But the fun part was after the game and during the summer league, sitting around watching the kids play and being with Danny Manning, and he was on the bench at the time at Kansas, and he said, Bill looked at him and said, what do you think? And he said, all I can tell you is he's a bad mother. But that was the greatest half of college basketball I've ever seen. Until Fulkerson, yeah. But it's a special place. You got it's a great basketball tradition. You know that. Bill's done a terrific job since he's been there, and you've got to play extremely well to go in there and win.
Coach, to close, you talked about a special place, and you got a special gift tonight.
I did. You know what? It's very seldom. I've had a lot of friends in my life, but I've never had someone that's actually signed a photo for me, a friend. I mean, somebody you think would be a friend. You know what I mean, Rob? Like it'd be like a friend would give you an autographed picture when they were in college, and they have told you for years that they wore number 44 and how good a player they were. They signed a picture when they were in college in the 60s and are wearing 34. But Bob Kessling did that tonight, and then I come out after the game, and he gives me a pair of socks. Now, this is a guy that really thinks highly of himself. I mean, look at this. But I told him it's appropriate because he's right where he needs to be on the floor being walked on, But how about that? Bob, he made these up, and now he's got a pair for all you guys if you want them. Anybody want them? And I will sell this pair. Okay? All right, thank you guys.